In Chapter 3, we're going to take a look at how we can format an Excel worksheet. And you'll discover as we read through the chapter that formatting of a worksheet really kind of brings together how you want to present information or data to a user or to a viewer. And you can put information and data in a worksheet, but if it's not presentable, if the user doesn't want to view it, or if it's very difficult to read, then that kind of breaks down the communication process. So we're going to learn how to format the worksheet by following the objectives that you see on page 69. You'll see the first objective there, change column widths. We'll also learn how to change row heights. We'll learn how to insert rows and columns in a worksheet. We'll delete cells, rows, and columns in a worksheet. We'll clear data in cells, which is a variety of ways that you can do that. We'll apply formatting to data in cells. Apply formatting to selected data using the mini toolbar. We'll learn to preview a worksheet. Apply a theme and then customize the theme font and color. We'll format numbers. Learn to repeat the last action that we performed. We'll also learn to copy our formats using the format painter. And then finally we'll learn to hide and unhide rows and columns. So with those objectives, again, I just want to recommend that you read through the paragraph there at the bottom of page 69. And then if you'll notice again on page 70 are the model answers that we're going to be striving for in each one of the projects throughout the chapter. So beginning with project 1, you're going to see that we'll open a workbook that contains a worksheet with product pricing data, and then we'll format that worksheet by changing column widths, row heights, inserting and deleting rows and columns, deleting rows and columns, and then clearing data in those cells. And then we'll also apply font and alignment format to data in those cells, and then finally preview the worksheet. So lots going on in this project 1. As project 1A begins, it does tell us to open up the CM products workbook. I've already done that and then have saved it into the folder level 1 chapter 3 on my flash drive, and I've named the file Excel level 1 chapter 3 project 1, and then with the current CMP project workbook name. So that's already been done for us, and they ask us to do a few things that we're already familiar with doing. In cell D2, they do want us to put in a formula that will multiply the price times the number. So again, with the formula, we're going to start out with an equal sign, and then I'm going to click in cell B2 that represents the price, multiply that times the number, which is in cell C2, and I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. So that brings up the amount, the total amount there for each one of the products. I am going to go ahead and autofill that formula down, and I'm going to lay my mouse on the fill handle at the right and double click. And that will autofill down. We'll come back to the pound symbols and what those represent in just a minute. You'll see the pound symbols in column D and also column B. What that represents is that the column is not wide enough to accommodate the text or the numbers, in this case, in the column that they're in. Because if you click in any of those cells that do have the pound symbols, you can see that a formula is in there, it's just not displaying. So what we're going to do is we're going to widen column D, and we're going to do that by laying our mouse between the vertical line between columns D and E. That'll become a double-sided black arrow with a vertical line through it. And then I'm going to hold down the left mouse key, click and drag, and as you do that, notice the tooltip that appears. I'm going to increase the width to 11. And that should widen it enough so that it accommodates the longest number in that column. And then they want us to drop down to cell D15, and instead of that, multiplying B15 times C15, which nothing's in there right now, they want us to sum these cells. So again, on the Home tab, in the editing group, the sum button, I'm just going to click on the button itself. It'll grab the cells that we want to sum, and then I'm going to press enter. And that'll give us a total for that total column. They also want us to change the width of columns A and B, and so what they're showing us here is that we can increase the width at the same time if we have multiple columns that we're wanting to make larger. So first of all, we need to select the columns that we want to widen. I'm going to lay my mouse at the top of the A column, get a black arrow pointing downward, and then I'm going to click and drag to highlight both of those columns. And then between columns A and B, I'm going to get a double-sided black arrow. Again, I'm going to drag that so that it's at a width of 10.14. I'm just double checking that to make sure. I need to pull that back just a little bit. But it should adjust both columns when you've selected them both. And then column C, they want that widened to accommodate the longest entry, obviously, in that column. But we're going to choose the auto fit method to do this. And to auto fit, you're just going to go between C and D, and again, get that double-sided black arrow, double click, and that'll automatically fit the longest word in that column, which is number in our title. If you prefer not using the click and drag method, you can also use the dialog box, the column width dialog box that's found on the Home tab in the Cells group. So we're going to proceed by changing column widths in Project 1B through that method. And again, it doesn't matter what method you use, just whatever's most convenient for you and most efficient. You want to pick up on the most efficient ways of making changes in your applications as we go through this. So again, in column A, if you want to change the width of column A, just make sure that you're somewhere in that column. And then again, on the Home tab, in the Cells group, which my Cells group is not large enough, so I need to click on the Cells button to expand it out. And then within that, we'll go into the Format tab. I'm sorry, I apologize. And in the Format tab, then you'll see the column width area right here. We'll click on that. And the column width that they want us to change it to is 12.75. And you can either press Enter or click OK. And then column B, they want us to change the column width to 12.75. Same thing. You can either go into Format Cells again, column width 12.75, or could have gone through and changed it by double clicking, not double clicking, but clicking and dragging. And column C, same thing, 12.75. So you've got a couple of methods there of changing column widths. The row heights, we'll see a change in that in Project C, which begins on page 73. Again, if you want to change multiple rows, you could select multiple rows and change the height of a row that way, or if you can do them individually as well. The first way through, though, the first time that we make a change, we are going to just change row 1, and we want to increase the height of that. So I'm going to lay my mouse between rows 1 and 2, the horizontal line between those two. You get a double-sided black arrow. I'm going to click and drag, and we're going to increase the height of that to 19.5. And then we're going to change the row heights of rows 2 through 14. So we're going to select all those rows, and we're going to change the row height to number to 14. Okay, so I'm having a hard time with that one just by clicking and dragging. So if I can't get it, then my other option is to go back into the Home tab in the Cells group, Format, and then you see row height here. And within that, we'll change it to 14. And that'll increase all of those rows to 14. Okay, now just between rows 2 and 3, we're going to increase the row height of that to 16.5. So I'm just going to go between 2 and 3, 16.5 for that. Row 15, we're going to go through a different method. They're going to have us go through the Cells group at the top. We've already done it before because I cheated, because I couldn't get my mouse to get to the 14.5, but we'll change the row height of 15. But it works the same way that we did with columns, changing columns. We just need to be somewhere in row 15. And then again, from the Home tab in the Cells group, we'll go to Format, row height. It's going to be set at 20. So that increases it there as well. After creating a worksheet, it may be necessary to go back and make changes to the worksheet by inserting or deleting cells, rows, and columns. And so the next few projects we're going to take a look at how we can insert and delete those cells, rows, and columns within a worksheet. So to start off, this is in project 1D on page 75. We're going to insert 2 rows at the beginning of the worksheet. So first of all, we're going to go to cell A1, and within that we're going to go to the Home tab again, which we're already there in the Cells group, and we're going to go to Insert. And you click on the drop down arrow of that, you can see that there's an Insert Sheet Rows for that. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. That will insert a single row. And then with this still active, you can go back. Actually, you could repeat last action, which is a good place to do that. And you know what, I'll come back to that because they're going to have us do that at the end of the chapter. But so in cell A1, we'll insert sheet rows again by going under Cells, Insert Sheet Rows. Then in cell A1, we're going to put in a title, Capstan Marine Products, and below that a subtitle, Purchasing Department. And again, we're going to change the row height to these. Row 1 is going to be 42. And row 2, see if I can do this by clicking and dragging. We're going to increase that to 21. Okay. Then we're going to insert 2 rows, doing them at the same time. We're going to select rows 7 and 8, and we're going to go back up to the Insert button, choose Insert Sheet Rows. And so as many rows or columns that you have highlighted, that will be how many rows that'll insert into your worksheet. And kind of keep in mind too, wherever you start your selection of rows, that's where it'll push it down. So, and then I'll go ahead and type in the information here while pausing the demo. After entering in the information, they ask us that we go ahead and copy the formula down from D6. So I'll go to D6, lay the white cross on the fill handle, and just drag down. And that will copy the formulas relative to the rows that they're in. Next, in project 1E, we're going to insert a column to the left of column A. So we're going to click anywhere in column A, and again on the Home tab in the Cells group, we go to the Insert button. Should be an option here to insert sheet columns, and that'll shift all the information to the right, inserting a blank column to the left of that. And then we are going to key in additional information. You can find this again on page 76, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the demo as I type this in. After I've keyed in the information, you'll notice that the column's not wide enough, so I'm going to go between A and B at the top and just double click. That'll widen it. And then they want us to add another column between A and B. So I'm going to click somewhere. Actually, let's go to B1. It doesn't matter where you click necessarily, but we'll click in cell B1. And another method which you can insert columns is by again excuse me, by going into the Cells group and then clicking on the Insert button and Insert Cells. And when you do that, that brings up a dialog box that has an option to insert entire column. So just go ahead and click OK to that. So that's another method of getting a new column in your worksheet. And then in cell B3, they're going to have us to type in the date. And I'll go ahead and save this to update the changes that we've made. And then the next little area, we're going to take a look at how we can delete cells, rows, or columns within a worksheet. And in addition to that, we'll also learn how to clear information out of the cells. Like we may not want to necessarily delete the entire cell, we just want to delete the contents within the cell. And so we'll look at a variety of ways in which we can do that as well. So the first step that they ask us to do in project 1F is to delete column B. So one way to do that is we're in column B that has the date column. And again, under the Home tab in the Cells group, we're going to go to the Delete button this time. So I'm going to click on the arrow below that and choose Delete Sheet Columns. So click on that. That'll take away that column B that we just added. And then we're also going to take a look at how we can delete a row. They want us to actually delete row 5. So I'm going to select row 5 on the left. And then again, in the cells group, click on the delete arrow at the bottom. And we'll choose this time, we're going to go into, actually we can just click the delete button. Let's just click that and that'll delete the entire row pretty quickly. So now the next thing that we're going to do is clear the contents out of a row without deleting the rows. And to do that, they want us to delete the contents out of rows 7 and 8. And so we're going to select those 2 rows, and then to clear the contents, this time we're going to again be in the Home tab, but we're going to go to the Editing group. And if you'll notice in here, there's a clear button. If you'll just click on that, that'll give you a drop-down list, and within that we'll choose Clear Contents. And that'll take out the information in those rows without deleting the rows themselves. And then in Project 1F, that's on page 77, they want us to enter in some additional information or different information for those 2 rows. So I'll go ahead and do that and pause the demo. After entering the additional information in rows 7 and 8, they do want us to go ahead and fill down the formula to those 2 cells. And then next we're going to take a look at how we can apply formatting to areas of our worksheet, and a lot of different types of formattings that we can use, especially from the font group on our Home tab. And you'll see on page 78 along the left there in the margin all the different options and how you can format characters within your worksheet. And you can not only do it from the font group, but you can also do it from your mini toolbar, which we'll see in just a minute, and dialog boxes as well. So we'll take a look at a variety of methods of applying our formats. As we apply formatting, the first type of format that we're going to look at is how we can wrap text within a cell. And they first want us to do that with the contents of cell B1. And to wrap the text, if you'll look in the alignment group of your Home tab, you'll see the wrap text button. I'll just click on that. That wraps every text, every line, so that it fits within cell B1. And then they want us to also take a look at merging across cells, and they want us to experiment with the title and the subtitle by clicking B1 through C2, and then they're going to have us merge and center, or merge across. So I'm going to click on the merge and center button, and then there's an option to merge across, and that merges the text across those cells. Then after doing that, they want us to go ahead and experiment a little bit here. We're going to first of all unmerge the cells. So we're going to go back, made a change here. We want to unmerge those cells, and then they want us to select A1 through E2, and we're going to try merging across with these. So again, I go to the Alignment tab, click on the Merge, and choose Merge Across. You can kind of see how that shifts it all to the left, but all the cells are 1. And then they want us to apply the middle align button and then also the center button. So in the alignment group, the middle align button is on the first row, at least in mine. I'm just going to click on that, and then we're also going to choose, and notice how that puts it in the middle as far as the row height's concerned. And then horizontally, if we choose center, then it'll put it between the columns that we have selected. Next, we're going to rotate the third row so that the headings here kind of rotated on their side. So you select the cells that you want to rotate, and then again in the alignment group we're going to go to the orientation button, and I'm going to click on that, choose angle counterclockwise. You can kind of see that pointing to a slant there, and then after looking at that they decided they want to return it, the orientation back to horizontal. So we're going to go back to the alignment group, change that back to horizontal. Actually, you can just, let's go back to undo. Let's just undo that, and that'll get it back to where we need it to be. So get a lot of ways of just changing the way that the actual text looks in the cells. Another way that we can change our appearance of our numbers or text within a cell is by using the font, changing the font size, and the font color. So in A1 we're going to make some changes here to this as well. I'm going to use the home or the ribbon, the home ribbon, to make these changes in the font group. So the first change that we're going to make is to the font itself. We're going to change it from Calibri to Bookman Old Style. And then the font size, they want to increase that to 22. Then at the top of page 80, they want us to change the font color to dark blue. So again, in the fonts group, change that to dark blue. And you know what? It's in the standard colors. So we're going to go down here to the standard colors, dark blue. And then for the subtitle in cell A2, we're going to take some similar steps to what we did before. We want to change the font to Bookman Old Style. I think I zoomed right past it. Sorry about that. And then also we're going to change the font size this time to 16 point. And the color is going to be dark blue. Now if you'll notice on the font button now, since we just used the font color blue, that's the default now. So we can just click on the button itself and it'll change it to dark blue. Okay. And then next we're going to change the alignment. Again, A3 through E3, we want to make that center. So we'll go to the alignment group and click on the center button. And then with that still selected, we're going to also bold it and italicize the titles here. So again, in the font group, bold, italicize. Then A3 through E18, if I can get all this selected, we want to change all that font to Bookman Old Style as well. Now when that happens, notice the pound symbols appear. I'm just going to go between E and F and double click to widen that to fit the longest word in that column. Now we're going to take a look at changing formatting or applying formatting using the mini toolbar. So to do that, in cell A4, A4 are these company names. Again, I think I'm going to double click here to widen that. And just within this cell, we want to change RD so that it appears as a different font. We'll do some different things to it, but just those two letters. Now, if we wanted the entire cell to be changed, obviously we just click on the cell and make our changes in our font group. But since we want information within it, we need to select it first. And when you select your text, I'm going to slightly move my mouse upward, and that should then allow the mini toolbar to appear. And on that mini toolbar, we want to increase the font size. So I'm just going to click the increase font size one time, and that'll increase it by 1. So that should raise it to 12 point. Okay, then we're going to drop down to A14 where the Geneva Systems is located, and just Geneva we want italicized. So I'm going to double click to get inside that cell, and then I'm going to double click again to select just that word, and then again I'm going to move my mouse up just ever so slightly and use the mini toolbar to italicize that name, and then I'm going to click outside of it to accept it. Next, they want every column, you know, like in column A I double clicked individually, but they want every column to be auto fitted to fit the longest entry. So a quick way of doing that again is to select the columns. I'm just getting that black arrow that points downward, clicking and dragging to the right to get them all selected, and then you can lay your mouse on any of these vertical lines and double click, and it'll auto fit all the columns to fit the longest word or number in that particular column. Column D, the numbers themselves, they want those center aligned, so we're going to select D4 through D17, and the center alignment button is in the alignment group, and then just center align. A double line bottom border is going to be applied to cell A2, which is going to be kind of a divider between the subtitle and where our headings are located. So to do that, we're just going to click somewhere in cell A2, and then the borders button, again on the home tab, in the font group you'll find the borders button. I'm just going to click on the drop down arrow of that, and you'll find bottom double border in the drop down list, and I'll go ahead and click on that. And then they want a single line bottom border that divides the titles from the rest of the information in your worksheet. So to do that, we are going to select A3 through E3 because that's not all one cell. Those are all separate cells, so you have to select those separately. And then again, click on the drop down arrow on your border button, and and this is just a single one, so they're just going to have us click on bottom border. and that'll give us a single border underneath those cells. And then now we're going to apply a fill color so that it fills up the cells with a color in a variety of places. And the first one is A1 through E3. So not only the title, subtitle, but also the headings are going to have a fill color in the back. And to do that, again, you select the cells that you want to fill, and then in the font group you'll see the fill button here. Now I'm going to click on the drop down arrow to pull up the palette, and within the palette they want us to use an aqua color, and it looks like they're wanting aqua accent 5, lighter 80%. So you can see how that fills in the cells in the background, kind of brings your attention to that portion of the worksheet. And then they want us to apply some number styles and actually just comma styles to a selected area. And the first one is C5 through C17. So I'll select C5 through C17, and we're going to change that to the comma style. That's found again on the Home tab in the number group. And within the number group then we'll choose the comma style. Notice that removed the dollar signs. And then also E5 through, and you know what, I just messed that up. Let me undo. Notice how I selected C4. They want that first one to have the dollar signs in it, so I apologize. Let me undo that. And then we'll just select C5 through C17 and the comma style. Now that first row still maintains the currency. Then with the same thing with column E, starting with E5 down through E17. And again, the comma style. Okay, so that takes a look, hopefully takes care of all the formatting that they want us to do in Project 1G. Now, I just want you to notice, we've done fill color, we've changed the font size, we've changed the font color, we've put bottom borders, all that to improve the appearance of the worksheet, to make it more appealing, a little bit easier to read for those users who will be interpreting the data.